Predator becomes prey in the Florida Everglades as hundreds of hunters descend on the Sunshine State to catch and kill as many Burmese pythons as possible.
Cameras have recently captured shocking footage of massive Burmese pythons leaving the swamps and moving straight into Florida's neighborhoods. This is the moment scientists have warned about for years. The moment when the python invasion crossed what people believed was a safe boundary. Right now, an entire food chain is falling apart, and Florida is quickly running out of time to stop this dangerous spread. Experts now believe we are standing on the edge of a major disaster, where the ecosystem could begin collapsing from the smallest species to the largest. Nightmare on the border. The footage was recorded by a high-tech drone flying quietly above the thick, humid treetops. Its thermal camera peers through the dense cypress forest, revealing something no one wanted to see. It showed the exact moment Florida's most frightening environmental crisis crossed into human territory. The drone was scanning the drainage canals near a residential area along the swamp's northern edge. Suddenly, a bright orange shape appeared against the dark background of the thermal screen. It was a clear heat signature of a massive 16-foot Burmese python, tightly coiled and waiting. This footage became undeniable proof that the invasion had now reached people's doorsteps. But when scientists studied the video closely, it wasn't just the snake's enormous size that worried them. It was where it was located. The python wasn't hidden deep in wild grasslands. It wasn't buried in a remote part of the park where only trained researchers go. Instead, it was positioned near a water outlet that led directly to clean lawns, backyard playgrounds, dog walking trails, and rows of quiet family homes. This was exactly what experts had predicted 30 years ago. The slow spread from untouched wilderness into crowded suburbs. This expansion did not happen suddenly. Pythons spread like drops of ink in water, slow at first, almost invisible, and then impossible to stop. By the time most people realized there was a serious problem, the snakes had already taken over thousands of square miles. Seeing a giant python near homes used to be rare and shocking. Today, drones capture these scenes almost every week. Yet, the most disturbing part of this invasion is not what people can see. It is what they can no longer hear. Scientists who study natural sounds have analyzed thousands of hours of recordings from hidden monitoring stations. What they found was deeply alarming. The natural nighttime sounds of small native animals had almost completely vanished. In areas where pythons are most common, researchers recorded up to a 90% drop in these important sound frequencies. For biologists who have spent their lives studying the Everglades, this silence is heartbreaking. It means the animals are disappearing because they are being eaten faster than they can reproduce. This silence has become living proof of ecological collapse. People living near the Everglades have already noticed strange and worrying changes. Pets are going missing without any explanation. Lawns show deep sliding marks in the grass. Water levels in backyard canals shift in unusual ways. Raccoon numbers have dropped so sharply that some homeowners say they have not seen one in months. Police and wildlife officers are now receiving calls they never expected. Not just reports of sightings, but doorbell camera videos showing pythons crossing driveways in the middle of the night. Clips of massive snakes slipping under porch steps and disappearing beneath houses. The nightmare is no longer hidden in the swamp. It is unfolding inside neighborhoods. And modern cameras are showing just how close the danger already is. And if this is what we're seeing today, the biggest question now is this: what will happen next as the invasion line continues to move forward? The biological time bomb. To truly understand today's nightmare, we must go back to the moment when the very first snake escaped into the wild. Burmese pythons, which originally come from Southeast Asia, arrived in Florida through a dangerous mix of the exotic pet trade and human carelessness. By the 1990s, these snakes had already settled into the environment and were powerful enough to hunt animals much larger than themselves. But the turning point came in 1992, when Hurricane Andrew destroyed large parts of South Florida. The storm scattered countless exotic animals from private collections into nature, turning a small problem into an uncontrollable biological time bomb. However, this disaster did not happen overnight. Behind this simple explanation lies a much deeper pattern. The invasion was built slowly through years of accidents, escapes, and careless choices. During the 1980s and early 1990s, Burmese pythons became extremely popular in the American pet market. They were sold as tiny, harmless babies, often no longer than a foot. But within a year, they could grow to 6 feet. Within 2 years, they often reached 10 feet. Many owners were not prepared for this rapid growth. Feeling overwhelmed, some released their snakes into canals, forests, and even city parks. Others escaped from poorly built cages, while some were abandoned during house moves or after storms. Hurricane Andrew then acted like a powerful force that gathered these scattered mistakes and spread them all at once. Breeding centers and exotic animal facilities along South Florida's coast were completely destroyed. Hundreds of snakes vanished into the wreckage and quietly slipped into the swamp, where warm water and thick vegetation made hiding easy. And because the Everglades never experienced winters cold enough to kill them, the snakes did more than survive. They multiplied and flourished. In the early years, scientists underestimated how serious the threat really was. One major reason was that pythons are extremely difficult to detect. Their skin patterns blend perfectly with their surroundings. Even trained experts can walk just inches away from one without noticing it. These snakes hide underwater, beneath roots, under leaves, and inside drainage pipes. For every python that a hiker or hunter sees, thousands more remain hidden. That is why wildlife biologists often say, if you see one python, there are already too many. And today, the future danger is far greater than just growing numbers. The most powerful force driving this invasion forward is climate change. As Florida's average temperatures continue to rise, regions that were once too cold for pythons to survive the winter are becoming warm enough all year. These natural cold barriers are disappearing. Areas like northern Florida, southern Georgia, and even parts of Alabama and Mississippi are now experiencing winters that no longer reach deadly temperatures. This change opens vast new territory for the snakes, allowing them to spread farther north. Rising temperatures also affect how pythons reproduce. Warmer conditions increase their metabolism, improve breeding success, and help females recover faster between egg-laying cycles. A single female can already produce up to 100 eggs. In warmer years, those numbers become even more dangerous. As frightening as this is, there's another hidden threat: the rise of the super python. Scientific evidence shows that Burmese pythons can sometimes breed with African rock pythons. These snakes are known for their strength, aggressive behavior, and ability to survive in colder climates. African rock pythons were also brought to Florida decades ago through the pet trade, although in smaller numbers. But even a small population becomes dangerous when crossbreeding is possible. Genetic studies have confirmed that some captured snakes carry traits from both species. These hybrids grow larger, adapt faster, and may handle colder weather better than either parent species. Over time, this leads to a population that becomes tougher, healthier, and faster growing. With every mile they spread, their impact on the environment becomes wider. That is why officials now say the python invasion today is very different from the one that began in the 1990s. It is no longer static. It is evolving. The idea of a super python is not science fiction. It is simply what happens when biology meets time and constant pressure. These are the same forces that shaped every powerful predator in history. And Florida's wetlands have become the perfect testing ground for rapid evolution. If nothing stops this process, these snakes could one day dominate wetlands across several states. And once a top predator with no natural enemies becomes established, removing it becomes nearly impossible. The biological time bomb that started with a single escaped snake is still ticking. But now, the countdown is faster than ever, and the explosion ahead may reshape not only Florida, but entire ecosystems across the southeastern United States. Ecosystem failure. The python invasion is not just about losing a few animal species. It is about the destruction of the entire food web, starting from the bottom and moving upward, slowly starving Florida's most important predators. One of the biggest victims is the Florida panther, one of the rarest and most endangered big cats in the world. These panthers depend on animals like deer fawns, wild hogs, and raccoons to survive. As pythons wipe out these same small and medium-sized animals, Panthers are left fighting over a rapidly shrinking supply of food. This growing shortage forces them into more aggressive territorial battles, a clear sign that their main food sources are disappearing. Scientists in South Florida have started noticing disturbing changes in panther behavior. GPS tracking collars show that many cats are now traveling much longer distances and using far more energy just to find a single meal. Normally, panthers spend most of the day resting so they can save strength for nighttime hunting. But now, many of them walk and hunt for hours without success. When a top predator uses more energy than it gains, every day becomes a fight for survival. Wildlife officers are also reporting more panthers appearing near homes and even crossing busy highways during daylight hours. Each sighting sends the same message. The animals are hungry, and hunger is pushing them into dangerous spaces. Every year, several panthers are already killed by vehicles. As their natural food disappears, this risk increases dramatically. What makes this crisis especially tragic is the way pythons remove prey without leaving a trace. They swallow animals whole, digest them completely, and move on. When a panther searches for food, it cannot smell what has already been eaten. To the predator, the swamp simply feels empty and lifeless. But the damage does not end with panthers. When small mammals disappear, plant life begins to change. Animals like marsh rabbits and rodents normally keep vegetation under control by grazing and spreading seeds. Without them, certain plants grow out of control, blocking waterways and changing how water moves across the land. Burrowing animals such as armadillos and rabbits also play a vital role. They loosen the soil and create small habitats for insects, birds, and amphibians. Without these natural engineers, the ground becomes hard, compacted, and unable to breathe. This small change creates massive consequences. Harder soil absorbs and releases water in new ways. In some areas, water drains too quickly. In others, it stays trapped. In the Everglades, where water flow controls everything, even tiny changes in soil can disrupt the entire system. And this leads directly to the next growing disaster, the water crisis. The snake invasion deep inside the swamp is now triggering serious problems along Florida's coast. As burrowing and grazing animals vanish, the swamp's natural water system slowly breaks down. The compacted soil reduces airflow and changes how rainwater moves. As a result, polluted fresh water from farms north of the Everglades now rushes south faster and in larger amounts. For many years, scientists blamed farming alone for harmful algae blooms, and agriculture is still a major factor. But now, ecologists warn that the collapse of the food web makes these blooms far worse. By changing how quickly water flows, the ecosystem no longer filters pollution properly. It is like removing a sponge from a wet surface. Water that once moved slowly and safely now races toward the ocean, carrying chemicals and waste with it. Because of this, Florida's once clear coastlines are turning strange shades of green and red. People living near estuaries report longer and more intense bloom seasons. Dead fish are washing up on beaches in large numbers, covering the shore. This has become both an environmental disaster and a major economic crisis stretching across hundreds of miles. To make matters worse, the damaged and unstable habitat has become a perfect home for other invasive species. Animals like the black and white tega lizard are spreading quickly, pushing the ecosystem even closer to collapse. Florida's native reptiles and wildlife are now trapped in a chain reaction of losses caused by species that were never meant to live here. The water crisis, the predator crisis, and the collapse of the ecosystem are not separate issues. They are all connected parts of the same breaking system. Each problem is another strand in a thread that is slowly unraveling. And each strand shows how a single invasive species can reshape an entire landscape far beyond its original borders. Cost of the war. The battle against invasive pythons has turned into a long, exhausting, and extremely expensive war. The financial damage alone has created a massive multi-billion-dollar drain on Florida's economy. Every year, millions of dollars are spent on state and federal removal programs. On top of that, Florida's tourism and fishing industries suffer heavy losses. Harmful algae blooms linked to disrupted water systems damage beaches, kill fish, and drive visitors away. And beyond money, there is another loss that cannot be measured: the disappearance of native wildlife. This is the part many people overlook. Florida is not just losing dollars. It is losing its natural history. It is losing the sounds of ancient ecosystems and the animals that shaped this land long before humans arrived. Every missing species and every empty nest is a reminder that a unique world is slowly fading away. The same technology that first exposed the crisis is now being used to fight it. Advanced drones patrol the landscape from the sky. They detect heat signatures in places where humans cannot safely travel. Artificial intelligence systems analyze thousands of hours of footage, frame by frame. They track snake movements through canals, levees, and forest edges. They identify hotspots where pythons gather. This information allows researchers to plan targeted hunts and focus their efforts where they matter most. On the ground, teams rely on trackers, trained dogs, and night vision equipment. Hunters move through deep mud, flooded areas, and thick vegetation. Some spend 12 hours a day in harsh conditions. Many describe the work as chasing invisible enemies. For every snake they capture, they know many more are still hiding beneath roots and debris. But the next stage of this battle requires something more precise, something more intelligent, something that does not depend on chance. This is where biological control enters the picture. One promising approach involves using powerful pheromone lures. Scientists discovered that female pythons release strong chemical signals during breeding season. Male snakes can detect these scents from long distances. Researchers now isolate these pheromones, recreate them in laboratories, and use them as bait to attract males. This strategy leads to another important tool known as the Judas male. Hunters capture a healthy male python and attach a GPS tracking device to its body. Then, they release it back into the wild. The snake follows the artificial scent, believing a female is nearby. But instead of finding a mate, it often leads scientists directly to hidden breeding groups. These nesting areas are usually impossible to find without help. The Judas male becomes a living guide. This method has already proven effective in controlling invasive animals like wild pigs and goats. Now, scientists hope it can work the same way with pythons. If used on a large scale, it could eliminate dozens of snakes at once instead of one by one. This kind of target removal is one of the few ways to slow such a fast-growing population. Still, many experts believe these methods will not be enough. Some researchers argue that only a permanent and radical solution can stop the invasion. That solution may involve CRISPR gene editing technology, one of the most advanced tools in modern science. The idea is bold but scientifically possible. Scientists want to design a gene drive that spreads through the python population. Any offspring born from modified snakes would be male. If future generations produce almost no females, the population would slowly collapse and eventually disappear. This process would not be quick. It would take many years. But it could end the invasion without poison or massive hunting campaigns. It would also reduce harm to other wildlife that might be affected by traps and chemicals. Of course, this approach raises serious concerns. Some experts worry about unintended effects on other species. Others fear the gene drive could behave in unpredictable ways. That is why scientists must test every stage carefully and study every possible risk. But the crisis has grown so large that Florida may be forced to consider these extreme measures. Every passing season adds more eggs to hidden nests. Every warm winter allows more young snakes to survive. Every lost animal weakens the ecosystem even further. Florida can no longer rely on temporary fixes. It cannot keep covering the wound. Eventually, it needs a real cure. CRISPR technology may become that cure, or pheromone traps may prove to be the strongest weapon. What is certain is that this fight cannot stop. Once an invasive predator takes full control of an ecosystem, restoring balance becomes nearly impossible. Right now, Florida still has a chance. It is a difficult and fragile chance, but it is still real. The cost of this war grows every day, yet the cost of surrender would be far greater. Tipping point. The footage coming from Florida's swamps, thermal images, silent sound recordings, and visual proof of disappearing animals tells a powerful story. It shows how much damage has already been done, but it also reveals something unexpected, something scientists did not think they would see this soon. Nature is beginning to respond in small but meaningful ways, giving researchers a reason to feel cautious hope. Against all expectations, natural predators like American alligators and large birds of prey have started hunting young and smaller pythons. In the early years of the invasion, this almost never happened. Pythons grew too quickly and reached sizes that most predators could not challenge. But years of pressure, constant competition, and crowded territory have slowly changed the balance. Young snakes that remain exposed are now more likely to be spotted by an alligator in the water or a hawk in the sky. Some have been recorded being dragged beneath the surface. Others have been snatched from trees by powerful eagles. These moments do not erase the damage that has already been done, but they show that the ecosystem is fighting back and trying to adjust to this new threat. Scientists believe this natural response may grow stronger over time. If alligators continue to hunt young pythons, they could slow population growth in certain regions. This would not eliminate the snakes, but it could give struggling native species valuable time to recover. However, nature's resistance is only one part of the solution. The larger effort comes from people who refuse to let the Everglades collapse. Human intervention is now stronger than ever before. The Judas Mail program continues to expand. Drones now scan wider areas. Nighttime surveys detect snakes that once moved unseen through the darkness. Every year, more advanced tools are introduced into the field. These technologies allow humans to observe the Everglades the way pythons do, through heat movement and shadow. Habitat restoration is also playing a critical role. When small mammals disappear, the land itself begins to change. To counter this, teams are working to protect soil quality, guide water flow, and rebuild areas damaged by imbalance. Progress is slow, but every step is necessary. Even with all of this effort, Florida's wetlands remain at a dangerous tipping point. The next few years will determine everything. If python numbers continue to rise, the silence spreading through the swamp will move farther north. What happens next depends entirely on human choices. If the state continues investing in removal programs, the invasion may slow. If scientists develop a safe and effective genetic solution, populations may shrink. If natural predators keep adapting and learning new hunting behaviors, the ecosystem may slowly regain a fragile balance. There is no single answer, no quick fix. There is only a long and difficult struggle that requires dedication, cooperation, and patience. And as long as that fight continues, there is still hope that Florida can survive the nightmare it never chose and rebuild the natural world it is fighting to protect.